to walk into your new season, a season of freedom and a season of victory. Here it is. By the hand of the Almighty, I've been set free, healed, delivered, made complete. Now I'm walking in victory. Adrian, won't you help me sing it? By the hand of the Almighty, I've been set free, healed, delivered, made complete. Now I'm walking in victory. We're gonna sing that again. By the hand of the Almighty, I've been set free, healed, delivered, made complete. Now I'm walking in victory. Oh, I think you got it now. Come on, lift it up. By the hand, I've been set free. Oh, now I'm walking in victory. Oh, said I'm walking in victory. Said I'm walking in victory. Walking in victory. Got my joy back. Oh, I'm walking in victory. Said I'm walking in victory. I'm walking in victory. Got my peace back.
Hello, everyone. This is Lakeisha Mosley. Welcome to my show where we discuss those unseen and unspoken issues of life while providing inspirational guidance to win with love and understanding. I have an amazing special guest that I'm so excited about, you guys. Her name is Miss Teresa Howe. She is an award-winning author, playwright, and stage play producer of That Church Life. Teresa, how are you today?
Hey, how you doing?
Amazing. I'm so grateful for you to be here with us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I just want to know a little bit about what's going on with you because you have so many amazing
Yeah, I can barely
things
hear
happening
you.
currently right now. Please tell my listening audience. Uh-oh. Can you hear me now?
You're really, really low.
Give me 1 second. Let me see what's happening here.
Okay.
Show you what God has done. Everything I've been through has brought me right back to you. New life is running through my veins. I'm fighting right through the pain. Every blemish and every stain has already been wiped away. Ooh.
Train up a child in the way that they should go. When they get older, they won't depart from it. How the blind gon' lead the blind? Lest they both fall in the ditch. What does it profit a man to gain the world but lose his soul? The devil will try it, don't get it twisted. Look what he did to Job. I'ma stand on his word though. Keep the faith, don't walk by sight. So it don't matter how dark the valley really is. God with me, so you know I got the light, bro. Greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world. That's how I know I'm a conqueror. That's how I know I'm a champion. God running in my veins. He's the truth from the proof. Do you understand? See, I'm the lender boy, not the ball. Say what? See, I'm a leader boy, not the follower. Okay. See, I'm the head boy, not the tail. See, I'm a boy.
All right, everyone. Welcome to the Lakeisha Mosley Show, where we discuss those unseen and unspoken issues of life while providing inspirational guidance to win with love and understanding. We were having some technical difficulties at the beginning of the show, but I believe we're clear now. I have an amazing special guest. Her name is Teresa Howe. She's an award-winning author, playwright, and stage play producer of That Church Life. Teresa, are you here with me?
Yes, that's much better. Hi.
Awesome. I said, we're going to win today, Teresa. We're going to win.
We won. We won that one.
That's right. You know, I believe it's probably because this particular segment is going to be so powerful. We're going to be talking about legacy potential. And anytime you're talking about anything beyond your human self, beyond what you can transcribe for your life, you know, the devil's busy. So anything when we
definitely
go beyond, right? So I just want to talk a little bit first about what you have going on. Can you please tell my listening audience a little bit about yourself?
Oh, okay. Well, I am a teacher by trade. A special education teacher is my field. But I decided to start writing a couple of years ago, and I created this trilogy called That Church Life. As soon as it hit the stores within 2 months, I was doing appearances on TV and all different kinds of things. And the vast majority of the people that were reading the books, even though I didn't want it to be labeled as Christian fiction, were people in the church. So the book spread, sold over 5,000 copies, less than a year and a half, and then I decided to turn it into a play. So the play is currently traveling, North Carolina, South Carolina, Boston, and Virginia. And so that's what I have going on right now. And, of course, I'm still writing other books. I have a book coming out in the next 3 weeks called Delayed But Not Denied. And then I have a part 4 to That Church Life that will be out this summer. So that's what I'm doing.
Wow, that is truly amazing. And I want to go a little deeper into what you just said because, you know, most of, you know, your audience may have came on to the scene where you were a playwright, you know, and you were author. But I want to talk about before it all happened. You know, what was your goal in life? You know, you said you were a teacher by trade, which is totally amazing. But what was your goal in life? Really, you know, was your goal to be more than a teacher? You know, was your goal to be anything other than this?
My goal was never to be a teacher. When I graduated high school, I was I could sing. So I thought I was going to be a backup dancer for Janet Jackson. I never, I never thought anything else. I never thought about anything else but going to California and doing an audition. But God made it so that I had some experiences in the job market, learned how to maneuver businesses and things of that nature. So I decided to go back to college. And I went back at a late age, didn't stop, got 4 degrees later. And then I decided, okay, well, maybe education would be the field that I kind of stay in. So I was way up in age and already had a family before I went into education. So I really didn't plan my life. I really didn't have any plans. I just kind of went with the flow. And it just so happened that teaching became my passion, and then secondary was writing.
Wow, that's truly amazing. You know, I can relate to your story because, you know, we start out in life, you know, just to be whatever we can see in front of us, right? And we're saying, you know,
Right.
this is pretty awesome. This is amazing, right? But, you know, what happened, you know, what was an experience where, you know, it really clicked for you and you started to look back and say, wait a minute, something is happening right here. This is not my plan, Lord. Where are you taking me?
Yeah, it's a victory story that came through tragedy. I had my grandmother, who I considered my mother, even though I had a biological mother, but me and my grandmother were really close. She passed away in 2015, and I was taking it very, very hard. I mean, just having breakdowns because I really, really didn't want her to leave me. And so my mother-in-law, who was my pastor at the time, told me that, you know, you need to start writing. God said it's time for you to write. And so I took her advice, and I didn't know what I was going to write about, but I did trust God that he would lead the pen. I started off nonfiction, and he said, nope, that's not what you're supposed to be writing. You're supposed to be writing fiction. And so that's what I did. Wrote my first book. Didn't have any help. Didn't have anything because I didn't know what I was doing. And it just so happened that there was some seasoned authors out there that had been in the business for like over 30 years that got a hold to the book. And they were like, wow, you're a great storyteller. This is something you need to continue. So I had no idea that I was going in that direction. I just thought I was going to stay in education until retirement. But God made a way. And so it's different now. So he took me way off course on what I thought I was supposed to be doing.
Wow. You know, I could relate to this story because, you know, I remember there was a time that I was walking in life and I thought that I was living my best life until someone just came to me just like you and said, you know, you don't belong here. And you're like, huh? What do you mean I don't belong here? Like, have you ever experienced that where, you know, you were told, I don't belong here. And then you ask God, well, what do you mean? Did I waste my time with everything that I do? Did you ever feel that you were wasting your time with what you already pursued, you know, and now what you're pursuing now?
Oh, most definitely. Because, you know, I went to school, got all these student loans to get degrees for the field of education. So, and I even started my PhD. I was 12 credits into my PhD when I started writing books. And so it was like, did I go to school and waste all these years for nothing? Because if I would have known that writing was supposed to be my path, like I could have saved a lot of money here. So yeah, it was one of those, oh my goodness moments, because I had no idea that that's what I was supposed to be doing. And I did feel that I wasted my time. I spent, you know, over 6 to 7 years trying to finish school. And, you know, now it's like, boom, writing is what I need to be doing. Playwriting is what I need to be doing. So that's what God led me.
That's truly amazing because, you know, you do reflect on that and you begin to feel like it was a waste of time, you know, but then there comes a point in your life where it all kind of fits in together, like everything. Like, have you experienced that where you realize that, wow, all of it started to fit together? Like, if if you didn't have what you had before, like it's almost like your foundation. If you didn't have that foundation, you wouldn't have been ready for this. Tell me have you experienced that?
Well, yeah, because like in college, you have to write a thesis. You have to, there's always writing. There was a moment when I was in undergrad at the age of 19 where there was a professor that said, you need to be writing, because I had to write a short story for an English class. And so even back then, somebody saw my potential, but I didn't see my potential. So it wasn't until later on in life I said, okay, writing is it, but I don't think my writing would be at the level that it is if I didn't go to school and get an education and learn the techniques of writing. So I think it all does kind of mesh together in a crazy kind of way, because now I'm an educator teaching other students how to write. So.
Wow, that's amazing. It's almost like you have multiple trades. You have multiple gifts that unfolded for you, as you went through your life. So it seemed like, it was a waste of time at first, right? But then you realize, okay, it's not a waste of time because all of it has value. And if I didn't have this wouldn't make sense. It's almost like the pieces of the puzzle, right? So
right.
Isn't that amazing just how life is? You begin to see how things unfold later. You begin to value that time. Tell me about your family. Like, are they connected and are they connecting with this, like with your life evolving this way? Are they seeing this? Are they ones that say, you know what, I've seen this in you? Or are they ones that says, wow, I don't understand everything, but I know this is what God has for you? Like, have you ever felt that, or experienced anything like that?
Yeah, my family had the wow moment because they see me as, I'm always cracking jokes and being silly around family. So they don't see me as a serious writer or playwright. They don't look at me in that light. So it didn't really start shining on them until I did the first play where we had a sold-out show. And that's when my family kind of looked at, even though it had been on TV and all this other stuff and been in, article in the Huffington Post, which was huge for a writer, it was still, I was still little Teresa to them. And it wasn't until this play that they were like, wow, she has some potential. And, the next thing I know, they're like, you're really anointed to do what you're doing. And God is just making a way. And it's amazing. So they're having the wow moment right now. The books didn't really wow them. But
I was still little Teresa to them.
Wow. So within that, that's amazing because a lot of times our family, they don't get it until later, and it can be discouraging. Tell me, have you ever experienced where it was just you and God, and you had to, experience that? Let me know.
Wow.
I really had to go because it was happening so fast.
Because a lot of times our family,
I can hear some playback feedback in my ear.
And it can be discouraging.
Yeah, Lakeisha, you got a speaker on? Because I hear feedback.
No. Do you hear it now?
No, it's clear now. You okay?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a situation I really had to go to God for myself to figure out how did I get there. Because, when you do something that you're not familiar with, you don't, I know for me, when I wrote my first book, I had no idea how much talent I had. I only knew from what people told me months later, and really didn't even believe them. So I had to go to God and be like, look, okay, if you're saying this is my talent and this is what you want me to do, please show me the way on how to perfect this talent, because I don't want to be a mediocre writer. I want to be someone that's phenomenal to a reader. And I prayed about it because I really wanted to be great at what I'm doing. So that's when the awards and stuff started coming for book 3, and people started really taking notoriety about my writing, because that book really showed some creative skills that I didn't even know I had. So I know that was nothing but God, because it's not like I took a writing class. I mean, I may have sat under Victoria Christopher Murray for maybe about 4 weeks for an editing class online, but no real educational studies about how to write. So it was amazing how by the time I got to book 3, people were requesting for me to come different places, go different places, and speak about my experience, because it's truly surreal. It's like, this was definitely not the plan. So.
That's really phenomenal because, I think about a time where, you feel alone. You feel like, you're by yourself. And then God assures you that he was with you the whole time. So much so that he's carrying you the whole time, right? So
right.
when you go through that, you feel that way. It's almost like it's happening for a reason, where God wants you to make him priority in being the main focus of anything great in your life. Because anything great, is God. It's a phenomenal moment of that. So tell me how, this particular play that you have, That Church Life. Let me know a little bit about what the play is entitled, what's happening inside this play, because I feel that this play is telling a story.
It is. So it's based off the book. It's coming straight from the books. Basically, I wrote about a story of a young lady who, her father was the bishop of the church, and they were generational preachers. His grandmother had preached, and it was time for him to preach, and he was getting old, and he wanted his daughter to preach. However, his daughter was having an issue with the church musician and dealing with domestic violence. So she had to struggle with, do I stay with this man or do I answer my family calling? I can't say that in the beginning it was a calling from God, because she was really, I don't know, my writing, hindsight 2020, but she was very, very, very confused. She suffered from anxiety, so she had some mental health issues that were going on as well, and through it all, she had these 2 friends that came in to kind of lift her up, and they decided to take her on a trip. And when they took her on this trip, she met this nice, tall, dark, and handsome guy and came back to the States, and it caused some problems for that musician. And so there's a mystery twist at the end of it. And so the play follows that same path of how they all came together, how she struggled, and how they become victorious in the end. So it's not your typical church play, as from what I've been told. And the director that has been with me since the beginning, she said she really liked the uniqueness of the play, and that's grasping people on why they, we're having sold-out shows. So I'm hoping to get it somewhere like Tyler Perry or somewhere, maybe come down to Maryland. Maybe Jerry can help me find a venue. But it's just one of those heartfelt stories that you're not expecting some of the things to happen in it, and it's definitely not your typical gospel play.
Wow, I'm loving it already. I'm ready to buy a ticket because it sounds so amazing. You know why I love it? Because it sounds so transparent. It sounds real, and I talk about this all the time, that, we have to be really real and transparent if we really want to reach the lost. Because if we begin to continue to act like we don't hurt or we're not human, we're not going to reach anyone that way. We're going to look like, well, you never been through what I've been through. So we'll have those blinders up like, oh, you just have on this nice, pretty dress or this nice suit, and, you have a good speech, and you go home and still be you're still defeated. You know what I mean? And you're not, really healed from really what God wants you to be healed from. So it sounds to me like your play is really healing, the wounds that God is really wanting to reach in his people.
Right. Because I see it so often, going to church. I know especially in the South, going to church is just routine and habit. And it's kind of disappointing because within that ministry, you'll have somebody that's dealing with domestic violence. You'll have somebody that's homeless. You'll have somebody that's starving, but nobody wants to talk about it. And like you said, they come all dressed up and, playing it off. But nobody knows what's going on behind closed doors, which kind of defeats the purpose of getting up early in the morning and coming in the house of God and not feeling free to, reach him, to get the help and the healing that you need. People, they still go home bound, and it's a sad commentary.
That is so real. I loved how you put that because, and that's one reason why, it's so important to talk about this legacy potential. Because a lot of times, we do look for the fame. We do look for the fortune. We do look for, the riches. There's nothing wrong with that. But if it's the only thing, it's really, lukewarm. It's not saving souls. It's not healing souls. And that's really, the whole vision of what God wants for us. And when we are not transparent, right, if we're not open, we can't reach anyone if we're not able to, let them know that we bleed too.
Right. And that's the biggest problem. Nobody wants to reveal that they bleed too. So back in the day, you would hear, grandmothers talk about testimony service, and everybody would go home with a good feeling. But nowadays, everybody wants to keep everything to themselves and not really want to talk about their pain.
Yes, I remember testimony services. We do not have anything like that anymore. Like those services were awesome. You felt our grandparents really tell their story, and we just had a model in order to just be open to God. But now, church has gotten a little, away from that. What I would say, church has not been really rooted in wanting to get, people free from what they're bonded by. Because, church is the hospital. And I tell people church is the hospital, right? Church is a place where we're all going to receive whatever healing we need to receive. But if the perspective is not on church being a hospital or just being a show or just a performance, then I'm leaving the same way I came, right?
Yes. And there are a lot of people leaving the same way they came, and they go back home broken, and they go back home feeling suicidal, and they feel they can't talk to their pastors, and because their pastors don't understand them. But in this day and age, with all this mental health going on, you would think that a lot of these churches would move with the time, and they would. I mean, if I was a pastor, this is just me speaking hypothetically, not that I'm gifted to be anything like that. But if I was a pastor, I might have a social worker on hand, or a counselor, because some of these issues that people are going through now, some of these pastors are not even licensed to talk about it. So it will be nice to make sure that they're healed in every way. I know in the educational system, when I've worked at a rough school before where there was so much brokenness with these kids, even starting at the age of 5. We had social workers on deck. We had counselors on deck. We had moments where we could bring in food because we knew some of the families didn't eat. They didn't have any food in their homes. And I wish churches would have that type of same perspective of how to get to people in this day and age on how it works. Because it's a lot of broken people walking around here not saying nothing.
That is so phenomenal that you put it that way. And I want to expound on that, because would you say that, the sermon should really be towards that perspective? Meaning, I know we're talking about, this is really great, and I want you to sow into this, and I want you to hear my special sermon on this. But, if instead of just talking about that, let's talk about, this drug addiction that's happening over here. Or let's talk about this depression or this anxiety that's happening over here. Like, this is the deep, dark, and ugly that it really goes on in the church. That's kind of like that elephant in the room no one wants to touch, and everybody knows it's there. Tell me about that. Like, how do you feel about that as far as how the church should talk about that?
I noticed they shy away from it. It might be part of the topic, but most of the time it's about people who have already been delivered from it and not people who are going through it right now. So it's kind of difficult. And I know from what I've witnessed, you have somebody come into the church. They're on drugs, or they have AIDS, or they're starving. They get that feel-good moment for about 10 Sundays. But after a while, it starts to it starts to wear away because nobody's really reaching out to them. Nobody's going to their home. Nobody's helping them. Nobody's doing missionary work like they used to back in the day. Like, remember when the missionaries used to go to your house and they'd bring you dinner? And, people don't do that anymore. Yeah, you're not getting a meal from the missionary these days. I mean, I'm just saying. So, everybody's on a budget. But it's one of those things where the social aspect that used to come along with church, or making sure if you don't see Sister So-and-so in 2 weeks, you pick up the phone and you call her and you make sure that she's doing okay. For all you know, Sister So-and-so could have been hospitalized. So many different things could happen to a person from week to week, from Sunday to Sunday. And it's just a phone call away of just checking on them to see how they're doing, or going by their house and helping them out. Sister So-and-so might be up in age and can't clean her house. She just needs a little push. But churches have strayed away from that. And I saw it firsthand because, my mom, she passed away in 2016. She had brain cancer. And it was like, as soon as she stopped going to church, paying them tithes, we barely saw any church members come and see her. And I was distraught because I'm like, wow, you giving all this money every month and still giving it in your sick bed, and nobody can come and see you? So, I was feeling some kind of way because she was really looking for somebody to come and spend some time with her. So it's a sad situation on where churches are now. It's more like a business than a healing station. Not to say all of them, because you'll have some people calling them. Why is she talking about all the churches? No, not all of them. I'm just telling about my experience and some of the things that I've seen, which I wish that we would all have the same mindset when it comes to dealing with people in church.
That is so real. And it's not that we're stepping on toes, and that is totally not our goal in this segment, but it's really an eye-opener on what's happening in our experiences, right, with church. And,
Right.
Not all were bad experiences. There were amazing, great experiences, but we cannot, avoid the bad experiences in the sense of not being, utilizing our love walk, right? Not actually acting, and expressing what we say. We talk a talk, but do we walk the walk, right? And That's what I'm seeing in church. And sometimes people get bitter and they stop going, which we don't want that to happen.
Absolutely.
We don't want people to stop, right? You know what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. I was one of them. I took a sabbatical for a couple of years. I was one of them. Mm-hmm. I grew up in church, and that's all I knew. But, there was a time in my life where I felt I really needed the people in the ministry to lift me up, and I just felt that it wasn't happening. So I took a sabbatical, started watching Creflo Dollar on the TV. Mm-hmm. But I'm just keeping it real. But it didn't help me to go back and be around people and worship with people, just like, the Bible tells us to worship with our brother and sister. So it did help, but it was therapeutic when I went back. But I was some kind of angry when I left. So we just have to be cognizant of what's going on with our members, because, like, people would disappear and then they'll never hear from the church again.
Yes. That is so amazing that you say that. We had a segment where we talked about church hurt, and we talked about, how members would leave and, with the pastors, and I was actually speaking to one of the pastors, and, I said, when did you really find out or did you ever find out that those church members, left, and how did you feel about that? Because a lot of times you don't realize that if you're in a position of leadership in the church, you don't know when your members are leaving. And you're not realizing that your people are not taking care of your people. Like, remember back in the day we used to have the church nurses? We used to have.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that. And now, you began to, understand why they had those things, but you do, the new church, it's gotten away from that. And I understand their purpose of having, their platform, with their own missions and their own goals. But at the same time, we cannot ever get away from the love walk. We cannot get away from the reason why we're in church, because it is a hospital. It is a place where we go, not judging others, right? And not, feeling that way, right?
Right. You're right. You are right.
Yeah.
But that's how the book, That Church Life, came about. It came from a place of hurt, and I wanted to explain to people how someone in church can be hurting and no one does anything about it. Now, and of course it's fictional. She did have a victory walk in the end. She was uplifted, but unfortunately it doesn't always work that way for everyone. I have friends that say they'll never go back to church again. Haven't been going about over 20 years. And that's sad to hear that. But it's real.
Yes, it is true. I have the same story. I have friends that have left the church, and they love what they received in the church, but because of the experiences they've had with people, they're said, I'm not willing to do that anymore, and it wasn't worth it. And that's what I love about your ministry and your play, is that you're getting our loved ones and the people that have turned away from the church to take a second look and say, maybe, they didn't understand. Because a lot of times people didn't understand what you're going through. They're going through their own things, and they don't realize they're hurting people, right? They don't realize that, the things that's happening, that they're, they're effect on someone. So I love that your play is really doing that. Tell me, what is the goal that you want people to receive out of your play at the end of the day?
Well, I've added a lot of comedy to it, and so it has a little. I want people to laugh. I want people to leave and be joyous about what they saw. I don't want people to be bitter or like this discussion we're having about what churches are not doing. I kind of want them to see what churches are doing in this play. And so a lot of people, the play that we had here in Durham, people left that play and days later was saying, I still feel good after seeing that play. I feel good about what I saw. So, we want to kind of, you got the comic part of it when you make fun of the mothers and things like that. And it brings life. It brings joy, and it makes people appreciate church. So that's my goal. My goal is to walk away and make you feel good about God and good about going to church. It's not one of those, even though it follows the storyline of the book, I think it does better than the book on how it makes you feel. Because when people read the book, I think a couple of people were angry at some of the characters. But when you see the play, it's definitely going to put a smile on your face and make sure that you leave there feeling good about it.
That's really amazing. I love that you had the end of your storyline. Your end goal was for someone to feel happy, to feel, loved, to feel, inspired to win. Because really that is how it is. A lot of times everyone wants to talk about the issue, but if you continue to talk about the issue, all you have is the issue. You don't have a solution, right?
Right.
So it's just, that's how it feels, when you, begin to strategically think about what do you want to receive at the end of this play. And I feel like everyone's receiving that when it comes to your plays. That's why it's so prosperous. That's why it's winning so well. And I believe you're going to have way more success than you're having right now. you're changing lives. And when you're changing lives, everyone wants to be a part of that. And I really see that just in a lot of believers now. They're steering away from the old way of doing things, and they're really embarking on reaching souls and what they are dealing with and reaching it in a prosperous, happy place, because that's where God lives. God lives in a happy place,
Mhm. Yeah. And I want them to leave happy. I don't want them to, leave, being upset because the main character, if she didn't get deliverance. Well, no, I want her to have deliverance, and I want everybody to walk away happy. And I want the ending to be a kumbaya moment. So it was definitely that, and I want it to be, feel good environment. I had a lot of vendors. I wanted it to be festive. I had a nice chef that has a catering business here that sold some really good food here. So it was kind of like a festival more than just a play. And people left feeling really great about it. So I was proud. I was actually shocked that I pulled it off. But, yeah, that's what I want.
That's totally amazing. You can tell God, I know you can see it now, but you can see just how God was carrying you the whole time. And he was seeing what was in you before you could see what was in you, right? Like he saw past all the things that you've been through, and he saw like destiny. He saw legacy.
Oh yeah, because I sure didn't see it. No, ma'am. This is. I mean, Jerry is my witness. When I first met him, about over a year ago? I know it was probably early 2017 when I came on his show, and I was just eager. I wanted to be on everybody's show. I wanted to do everything. I was bugging everybody. Can you please talk to me on your show? And I just wanted my name. I just wanted my name to stretch to the masses. And then when my name got out there, I started getting afraid. I was like, "Ooh, wait a minute, this is scary." I thought this is what I wanted, but So, but it was one of those situations that it happened so fast that it was hard to inhale and exhale correctly because I just couldn't believe how fast God worked. But that's how he does. He amazes us every single time. When we think one thing, he does total opposite. So
that is very true. It's I think back on just my life and how how you want to be a success. You want to be prosperous in the different areas that you're gifted at, and then when it starts to happen, you say, "Whoa, okay, God, I didn't know that you believe this in me." Am I ready? Yeah. Because you say things like I always joke. I've been joking since the first book came out, and I keep saying, I'm going to meet Tyler Perry, and I'm going to get to Oprah, and I'm going to meet this person. And it's like when you start really going down a road to where you can actually be in the same vicinity of these people, it's like, okay, wait a minute, God, I was just kidding. I thought I wanted to say it's like you start getting afraid the closer you get to certain things because you really, even though you said it, you might not have been that confident that it could actually happen. But I guess the difference between me and most people, my faith is it's like crazy. Like I've gone in situations where I've had absolutely not one red cent, and I said, "Okay, God, you got to make this happen." The play is a perfect example because I didn't have a set, I didn't have actors, I just had a dream. And when it all came together, it was like piece by piece, and it was easy. It was an easy setup, and it was like, wow, okay, this is definitely God because I'm not really struggling. It's not a struggle to put this together. So, it's just awesome how things have come together, and He's allowed me to do this because, look, I was just joking when I said I wanted to do these things. I didn't know. I didn't know it was going to happen for real. So here we are. Exactly. It is not over, right? It's just beginning. Can you feel that?
Yeah, it's just beginning. And, yeah, it is what it is.
That is totally phenomenal. I like this is the perfect example of legacy, what you're saying to me right now, and just how it's built, where, you started here, but then it's like God showed you something else that you felt like, okay, wait a minute, I didn't know if this was really going to happen. I was just playing. And God's like, no, I'm not playing.
Exactly. Like, I'm not playing, my child. You putting stuff out in the air, then you don't want to do it. What you talking about?
He enlarged our territory, right? And we're like, wow, you really doing it, huh?
Exactly. Gotta watch what you say, because it will come to pass.
Exactly. But then when you think about it, it's within us to be enlarged. When we think about who our God is and what he created us to be, he created us to be great. He created us to be, uplifted. He created us to be more than what we can ask or think. And it blows our mind just how big God is. God says, you haven't even seen an ounce, a fraction of what I'm going to do in your life. And I just feel that for you. I feel that for you. Oh my gosh. Please, at this time, I have so much I want to say. We can continue on. It's just, this is so amazing. I would love to have you back again, letting us know about your next play and your next book. And please telling us, our audience a little bit more about you. Please let us know how we can stay in contact with you.
Okay, so all my social handles are author Teresa B. That's on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. You can find me, author Teresa B. I do have a Facebook page, Teresa B. Howell, but I'm already to my limit of friends, so you can follow me on author Teresa B. My books are wherever books are sold, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, anywhere where you can find a book, you can find my books. So, and my website, if you want to join my mailing list, is www.teresabhowell.com.
Amazing. Well, I'm definitely looking forward for you to come back and let us know about those updates, when it's happening, so we can definitely support them. And right now, I want us to go into a segment where it's called Lakeisha's Love Letter of Healing and Encouragement. We're going to go ahead and reflect on Joshua chapter 6, a little bit on verse 25. This is talking about Rahab. Rahab was a prostitute, okay? And a lot of people look at Rahab and says, wow, this was what she, her hobby was. No, this was actually her profession. This is what she did, for a living. But the thing about Rahab in this segment, she was a part of the recovery of Jericho, where she hid those spies that were, equipped, where Joshua brought them out in order for it to be recovered, in order for them to be protected. And, by her hiding those spies in her home, it was so strategic because no one was going to look in her home, because this is what her profession was. This is what she did. So no one was going to come in her home. If men was in her home, they would just thought, oh, she's just working. But she was really doing the work of Christ, and she had faith, beyond anything. She believed in God. She believed that this was going to be a prosperous, moment for her, even though her profession was not honorable. She knew that she was doing something great. Not only did she do something great, this action protected her family. This protected her family's family. And she began to, a lifestyle living with the Israelites for the rest of her life. And I don't think that she thought this was going to happen. I believe that she knew that, something great was going to happen, but I don't think that she knew that her total life was going to change like this. And I just want to inspire others to understand that God has plans for you that is beyond your, way of thinking. It's beyond how you're thinking right now. It is a plan to bring you to a whole nother level where you couldn't have fixed it. You couldn't have made it. It's something where Without him, it wouldn't have happened. And isn't that just how God is? He's trying to instill changes for generations to generations in your life, and it's going to change your life. And I'm just so grateful because we're all in this together. We're all looking for the greatness of God, and he's here to give it for us. So I want you to open your hearts. I want you to open your minds to receive what God has for you, because he is going to instill greatness in you right now. All you got to do is open and receive this. Thank you so much for coming on to the show and listening. And I want you to be inspired to win. And as I end the show, remember, in all you do, lead with confidence, understanding, and love always. Thank you so much.
You're listening to Royce Worldwide Podcast.
See, Lord, I know I'm not perfect, but my heart's for you. Imperfection doesn't change the way you feel. Doesn't change the way you feel. I was born of man. Can't help that I was born into this world of sin. But now I'm here and I wanna live for you and only you. I won't let this world change my view. Sin, mercy keeps running down for me. I thank Jesus for what he did on Calvary. Yes, I was blind, but now I see. Still day by day, situations keep coming around, but I try my best to ignore the temptation of man. Lord, your will is my plan.
Worldwide Podcast.